In fact, I even recommend celebrating the failures. There's only so many times and so many ways you can fail. So every little failure along the way is worth celebrating, because when you celebrate, you feel good, you feel empowered, you feel supported, you feel loved, and you can pick right back up again and keep going. Hello, and welcome to the Business of Happiness podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tarryn MacCarthy, and today is going to be a spectacular day. Today, we are talking about how to achieve everything you've ever dreamed of. As we're looking into 2023 and looking back over 2022, just like you, I'm also imagining what is the future going to hold for me. And what we're talking about today is, how do you achieve everything you've ever wanted? And how do you reach for the life of your wildest dreams? And when I talk about the life of your wildest dreams, I'm talking about happiness. I'm talking about, how do you have everything you want in your whole life and happiness? Wild success, enormous, unimaginable, crazy success, and crazy happiness and fulfillment. Because it's possible. It's absolutely possible. So today we're talking about how. Because there's a lot of noise out there, especially this time of year. Everybody wants to sell you their thing, how to be happy, how to get fit, how to get in shape, how to get the love of your life. But the question is, how do you find inner fulfillment? That's what I'm talking about. How to reach for that life, that existence where every day is the best day, where every morning where you wake up and think, today is going to be a great day, where every day that you go to work in service of others, you actually feel enormously fulfilled and happy. When difficult things happen in your life, challenges, which is our human experience, losses, deaths, disappointments, that we can see those as gifts as well, and imagine and learn from those experiences. How do we have that kind of fulfillment where every day is a phenomenal day, even a Tuesday, and we're not just wishing the week away or wishing our lives away? You know what I'm talking about? You know what I mean when you get to a point in your life and you realize, oh my gosh, I'm literally wishing this day away. That old concept of hump day, that let's just make it through the week, get over the hump because the weekend's on the other side and it's coming. How sad is that to live our lives that way? To live in a place of sadness or frustration or anxiety or resentment over the choices we've made in our life, whether it's our career or the people we live with or the people we surround ourselves with. I think we're always looking for how to stay motivated to accomplish certain goals in our lives. But the real question is, how do we realize enormous success and happiness? And is there something else that's beyond staying motivated? And that's where I'm coming in for you today, because the answer is yes. See, the secret here is that you and I both know how to get things done. We know how to get in shape. We know how to build a business. We know how to become successful. I mean, you could probably create a whole podcast episode on how to accomplish something. We all know how to do it, but the question is, why don't we? Or why do we do it and then we still feel miserable? Becoming a dentist is easy. You just, someone tells you what to do and where to go and how much to study and what grades to get, and you can do it. If you really want to, you can do anything. But coming out of it with a sense of fulfillment and happiness, that's the trick. See, doing more will always get you somewhere. But what is the secret to feeling fulfilled and happy? And that's what we're talking about today. Looking into the new year, it's impossible, right, to not have goals for the next year. We all set ourselves up. And so many people have different opinions around New Year's resolutions. I personally love goals. I think that's actually one of the secrets to a happy life. I think, for me at least, is having a destination to go towards. Always. I always am looking towards the horizon. What's exciting? What can I dream up? And in fact, that's number one on my list today, is having something enormously exciting to look forward to and not holding yourself back because of perceived limitations. In other words, I think lofty goals are incredible. I think having big, enormous, seemingly impossible dreams is phenomenal. I think that's what keeps us alive. I think that's what challenges us. I think that's what keeps us reaching for more. But sometimes those enormous goals can seem unattainable, overwhelming, stressful even, because what happens is we start second guessing ourselves. And so then we start bringing our goals down, 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 and making them feel a little easier to accomplish. And that's when I think we sell ourselves short. See, because enormous goals are phenomenal, but achieving them takes tiny baby steps. Was it Tony Robbins who said, we underestimate what we can do in 10 years and overestimate what we can do in a year. And I think the same is true for big, lofty goals. We set our goals so low that we don't stretch and reach for the incredible, the thing that really gets you excited. And then we just settle for ho-hum. We settle for mediocre. We settle for moderate because we tell ourselves that's all we can do. But reaching for the phenomenal, the exceptional, that's where the excitement lies. I mean, I just get excited saying that. And maybe that's in business, or maybe it's just in love, or maybe it's just in appreciation of the day. It doesn't have to be material things. You know, another way to achieve great goals beyond just creating small baby steps along the way is surrounding yourself with support, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You know, if every day the people you interact with are dreaming big, it encourages you to do the same. If every day you are going to the gym with friends, you're going to get in shape. It's that support. It's the people you're surrounding yourself by. And I think sometimes we try to create new expectations for ourselves without changing our environment. Years ago, I decided that I wanted to give up drinking. It was really hard to stop drinking alcohol when my friends and my habit patterns didn't change. For about 5 years, I really struggled. For 5 years, that was my New Year's resolution every single year. I want to stop drinking alcohol. And for 5 years, I struggled. And one of the big reasons I really believe is because my friends didn't change and my habits didn't change. And I kept surrounding myself with people who felt very comfortable drinking alcohol, who didn't have that same goal. And I think that scares us sometimes. We think, well, I'm not willing to change my friends, but I still want to choose something different for myself. And one of the things that we're so lucky with in this day and age is we have access to friends online. We have access to friends in books. We have access to so many other groups and friends and cohorts, especially with technology, that you really could spend a lot of time with just about anybody you want to. So if you're living in a small town and you think, well, my goal is to become, a poet, we really can choose to be in the space of poets on a daily basis. So who are you choosing to surround yourself with? What language are you picking up from the people you're around? And it's almost impossible to be friends with 10 gym rats or athletes and not actually get in better shape yourself. That's just a little example. When I was trying to stop drinking, I started reading more and more about people who had stopped drinking. I started finding out who were the famous people and how did they do it? What is their philosophy? Why did they do it? Maybe it wasn't exactly like mine, but the more I started entrenching myself in that culture, things started to change. I think another aspect of creating the life of your dreams is making sure that your positive reinforcement is not just in your friends, but in your own head. Being kind to yourself, being supportive to yourself, giving yourself that enormous cheerleader in your heart and in your head, so that even when you stumble, even when you make a mistake, even when you fall down, which is inevitable, there's that voice inside of you that's always being supportive. And that can be one of the most challenging things in our lives, is changing the language in our own head from a very critical language to a very supportive one. You really can achieve more with kindness to yourself. It's not what I used to think. I used to think that I had to beat myself up with a stick or threaten myself. That to me was what I thought was the foundation of motivation. Keep, looking in the mirror at the fat on your belly and then you'll be motivated to lose it. That just didn't work. But it was changing the language to daily positive support and affirmation and kindness and compassion and gentleness and forgiveness. Those are the foundations of making great change. And then another aspect that I think we forget about is the aspect of celebration. And that reinforces that positive language, right? So taking little wins and celebrating them, because what we're doing is psychologically, we actually are giving ourselves evidence of doing well, of achieving. So imagine your dream is to hike up an enormous mountain. I'm using this as a metaphor. You have to take one step at a time. You can't just bound up the mountain. So those little steps are important. They're important to reinforce. They're important to celebrate. So even 10 steps deserves turning around, looking back down the mountain, saying, wow, look how far you've come. That gives you more energy to keep going. Because sometimes I think what we do is we get a certain distance towards our dream, and then we expect to start bounding up the mountain. And instead, what happens is we start beating ourselves up when we don't meet those expectations. I think that's where many of us are afraid of lofty goals, is we establish an expectation for ourselves and then we are mean to ourselves when we don't accomplish it, as opposed to celebrating the little steps along the way. In fact, I even recommend celebrating the failures. There's only so many times and so many ways you can fail. So every little failure along the way is worth celebrating, because when you celebrate, you feel good, you feel empowered, you feel supported, you feel loved, and you can pick right back up again and keep going. In fact, that is a very powerful technique, is to know, how will I pick myself up when I fumble? Because fumbling is inevitable. So who is that friend you're going to call? What is that motivational speech you're going to reread? What is that podcast you're going to listen to that really motivates you and inspires you when you have a bad day or a bad moment, or you slide back a little bit? This analogy of hiking up a mountain is so good, because every now and then you're going to slip and fall. What tools are you going to reach for before you slip and fall? What tools are you going to put in your arsenal to reach for when you do? What we've been talking about this whole first half of today's episode is how to achieve, how to have a goal, and how to achieve it. And it works, without a doubt. The daily showing up for yourself, the daily reminder, having that beautiful goal and dream, and then taking baby steps along the way, creating a support system for yourself of not just encouragement, but accountability. All of those are great tools for accomplishment. And doing that, you can accomplish anything. But here's the secret to accomplishing with enormous happiness. And what the secret is not doing more. It's about a certain level of being. Muhammad Ali, when he was still training, he said, "I am the greatest fighter that ever lived." When he made that statement, it was long before anybody knew who he was, long before he had any of the big fights. That statement he made was a sense of being long before he accomplished it. That is the secret. When you know what you want, being that before it ever even happens. And let's not get that confused with fake it till you make it. That saying, just fake it till you make it. That often I think Muhammad Ali is confused for having done that. And if we look at it from the outside, I can see how many people see that as what he was doing. But what he was really doing was living and being who and what he was desiring to become. He wasn't faking it. He was being it. He was embodying it. He was embodying what he was dreaming right now before he even got there. Do you see the difference? He wasn't faking it. He was living and being that person. The day he decided he wanted to be the best fighter, he was the best fighter. He didn't need anybody else's approval or validation. He just became that person that day. It's a fascinating place to be because when we can wrap our hearts and our heads around what it is that we want, when we can be really specific, and then we can start living like that now, things just flow towards us. We don't even need to rely on motivation anymore because it already is. We don't need to rely on how do I stay motivated? How do I stay focused? Because you already are. I remember a few years ago, I decided I wanted to run a marathon. I was not in great shape. What I decided was I am a marathon runner. Long before I ever completed a marathon, I became a marathon runner and I lived as her, the feeling of her, the embodiment of her. And that is the secret of how to embody, is imagining what is that feeling of who she would be. When I think about who and what I dream of becoming, I imagine what does that feel like to be her? When she wakes up in the morning, how does she be? How does she live? How does she hold herself and carry herself? How does she speak? How does she eat? What does she do first thing in the morning? How does she feel about it? Well, she loves running. If you're going to run 26 miles, you better love it. I started loving running. I loved it. Every day, I loved it. And the moment I didn't love it, I thought, well, how do I love it? What's going to make this incredibly joyful and enjoyable? So, for example, I live in the Northeast in Maine. Running in the winter is tricky. It's very cold. Right now, I believe it's about 9 degrees outside. Well, she loves to run. So how does she run in 9 degrees on ice? Well, she has spikes. Maybe she runs on ice and spikes, or maybe she runs on a treadmill. So how do I love running on a treadmill indoors? I started only watching inspirational movies when I was on the treadmill, giving myself something to look forward to on the treadmill. How does she love what she does? And, I think that's the second secret of being, is allowing the feeling to overcome and overwhelm all other feelings. And that's a challenge. That's a practice. Daily to practice that, because what we have coming behind all that desire are years and decades and generations of conditioning telling us either we're not worthy of it, we're not capable of it, it's not possible. And so those stories come in behind the desire and begin to tear away at the feeling of it. We start to fake it. That's where fake it till you make it comes in. And really, that's when we start to hurt ourselves. Because when you're faking it, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel true. So no matter how many times you tell yourself, I'm the best runner, if you're not feeling it, you're not going to be the best runner. That's where Muhammad Ali had the brilliance. He embodied being the best fighter in the world from the moment he started. That was who he was. He didn't have to wait for something to prove it to him. He embodied it on a daily basis. And so that's what I believe. That's what I have used as a tool my whole life in terms of accomplishing happiness. It's easy to accomplish a goal. It's easy to become anything you want to, but how do you do it and find enormous fulfillment and happiness? You be it. You be it. So some of it does take a little bit of reflection in terms of understanding what it is you want in life. And I think, at a very basic level, that's the first step. Before we can set that lofty goal, what is it you want? And then ask yourself, am I wanting this from a place of fear or insecurity or lack? Or am I wanting this as a dream of my soul? Is this a calling to me? And you know the difference. If your goals are being set because you're feeling afraid or insecure and you're trying to replace a fear or a sense of lack, then that energy sticks with you throughout the entire journey. So what does that mean, Tarryn? How can I put this in plainer language? If there's something you want because you're feeling like you don't have something else in your life, and you go after a dream starting from a place of insecurity or lack. I don't have enough money, so I just want money. I just want to not have no money. That sense of lack will follow you throughout the journey. And even though you might one day have money, it will always feel like you don't because of the place where you started from. Let's talk about with running as an example. If you're wanting to run because you just don't want to be out of shape, I just want to not be out of shape, then that energy travels with you as well. And even though you've completed the marathon, it will feel hollow and empty. So what is the opposite of that? It's when you take time to just be quiet with yourself and ask yourself, what is calling you? What is calling you, and what is a delicious, beautiful, exciting desire that's not from a place of fear or lack or insecurity, but from a place of desire and dreaming and excitement? And then what does that look like? And can you hold on to that higher level emotion around it? Whenever we approach something from low level emotions, I'm talking about, resentment, frustration, get back at something, or get my portion of it, or try to get even. Whenever we come at something with that kind of attitude, that's when it becomes hard. That's when it feels forced. That's when we start reaching for motivation and how do I stay focused? But when we can approach a goal or a dream from a place of enormous excitement, love, creativity, passion, if those words are coming to mind when you're thinking up a goal, you're on the right track. Peace, gratitude, service, love. If your goals are based in those emotions, then practicing those emotions on a daily basis will bring it to you, I promise. It seems like voodoo, but it's exactly how you do it. It's how you be it. Because doing it will get you only so far. It's how to be it in the moment and how to live it now before you have external evidence of it. And then it just flows to you almost too rapidly, almost too quickly. This is how I fell in love for the second time with what I do. My first time falling in love with the healthcare profession was when I was really little. I was young. I was 19. And the dream and the excitement of it was so wonderful. The deliciousness of it, the promise of it, of creating this beautiful career in service to others and mixing science and artistry and leadership and entrepreneurship and actually healing others, beautifying smiles, empowering people. I mean, that dream and desire, it's almost like that 19-year-old naivety that gives you permission to fall in love with something spectacular. And then I fell in love a second time after I realized the fear and the emptiness of finally having achieved success. When I achieved the success that I was striving for and that emptiness followed me, I realized I needed to fall in love again. And this is how I did it. I identified what it was that lit me up. And then I became that emotion now. It's so exciting. It's so powerful. It's so, it brings you to tears. It's awe-inspiring. When things just start coming to you, I did the same thing in my family. I remember years ago just thinking, I wish I had a family that was enormously supportive and loving, and everyone came to my home and we could just be in a space of love and support of one another, regardless of our choices in our life, our lifestyle. And it's possible. It literally happened for me this winter, this Christmas. Enormous extended family all came together, and the whole feeling of the entire holiday was just love and appreciation and joy. Do I think that was all my doing? No, but I definitely dreamt it up and created that space years ago with intention. And it was from a place of deep love, not lack, but love and compassion and peace. And when you can start from love and compassion and peace, you know you're on the right track. So as you're looking towards 2023 and you're thinking, what do I want? What is it that I want in my life? Maybe you're thinking, this isn't it. There must be more to life than this. And if you're asking yourself that question, I promise you the answer is yes. There is. There is. And if you're in the healthcare professions, this is why I created the Radical Happiness for Practitioners course, because I believe deeply that when we feel good, we can take better care of the people around us. And there's nothing more important to me than being able to support my colleagues to feel and live a life of enormous happiness and abundance. Not just material success, not just the ability to treat patients, but the enormous abundance of treating from a place deep within you of compassion and love and peace, and feeling that fulfillment on a daily basis so that you're not wishing your life away, because we only get one shot at this, guys, as far as we know. And I've said this before, but if there's another shot, count me in. If I have another opportunity to come back, to be reincarnated, I want in. I want more experience like this. I want to experience more and different and new challenges. Sign me up. But right now, I know this is the life I have. And damn it if I'm not going to make the most of it. So my course, Radical Happiness for Practitioners, is for my dental and medical colleagues who want that for themselves, want that for their patients, want that for their families. And this is the how to live that, how to know about the live more mindset, which brings so much more success and happiness than this do more mentality that we've been trained on for decades. So if this sounds interesting, guys, you got to check out my website, www.thebizofhappiness/radical happiness. Go check it out. It starts January 29th, but for a very limited time, right before the new year, there's a huge discount on the course. So check it out before the end of 2022. And know that anything is possible. Know that your enormous lofty dreams is actually the secret. Don't give up on your dreams. Don't settle. Never settle. Never settle in business, in life, in love, in happiness. Never settle. Always reach for the stars because it's possible to achieve. It's possible to be. It's possible to be enormously happy and abundant. And every day is definitely possible to be a great day. I'm living proof of it. So, congratulations at the end of 2022. I encourage you to look back over the year and give yourself that support I was talking about earlier about celebrating how far you have come. And give yourself an opportunity to just have a few moments of peace and quiet for yourself to reflect on what it is you do want for you, for your life, and come at it from a place of peace and love and compassion. And then join me on Radical Happiness and I'll show you how to make it happen. What we do is we actually break down over the 12 weeks practices and mindsets and meditations of actually how to incorporate this in dentistry and in medicine, how to actually make what you do fuel your soul so that you can be more present for your patients and your family and yourself. And that elusive work-life balance actually feel fulfilled on all parts of you. So check it out, my friends. I love you. It's possible. I can't wait to see you there. I can't wait for you to join me on Radical Happiness. And I can't wait to see what 2023 has in store for you. Sending you so much love. Bye-bye.